Hamiintamc, welcome back to my channel for another video this week. I've been absent here from a while, trying to get used to being in quarantine, and I think that this is a great moment for me to tap into my creative side and make some video content for y'all. So this video is basically going to be how I study and how I'm learning my Indigenous language. I'm definitely going to be updating this in the future because I want to put a disclaimer that I am by no means the expert on language learning, the best methods for language. I just want to show you what I'm doing to see if it's helpful or gives you some new ideas for yourself on how you can practice incorporating language learning in your life. I think the other interesting thing about this video is that this is not a typical language learning video because I'm going to be talking about specifically my Indigenous language, and the language learning for that is very different than for, say, a very popular or dominant language such as the Romantic languages like French or German or Spanish. So obviously the things that I'm going to talk about in this video, it's not necessarily accessible or the same for every tribe or community and the tools and resources that they have to their disposal. So I definitely want you to know that I'm aware of that. And if this is not applicable to you, I'm really sorry. But I'm just trying to show you what tools that I have to my disposal and the way that I'm trying to use them. I'm also hoping that this video will continue to give me motivation to learn and speak my language and incorporate it in my everyday life. I would say I'm not at the point yet where I'm confident in the fact that I learn and speak every day, but I really want to get to that point in my life. So this video that I'm making is a way of holding me accountable, inspiring me, and getting me motivated to continue my language learning for the rest of my life. Honestly, I do think I'm going to be doing it for the rest of my life. So just a little bit of background that I'm going to provide to give context to this video. Hamiintamc, hello, that is hello in my native language. Hello, everyone. So my language is Serrano, and I've been learning it for about the past, I want to say 4 to 5 years. Officially, I've basically started it around the time that I was in college. I had the accessibility to start when I was younger, but I didn't realize the importance of it then. And I think I was kind of intimidated and scared. But now as I've grown older, I've kind of adopted a personal responsibility that I want to learn my language and practice it, and I'm very passionate about the survival and revitalization of Indigenous languages. Also, some context is that I'm actually taking a college course in my Indigenous language. That in and of itself is a language learning tool that I am incorporating into my life, but pretty soon I'm going to be finished, which have mixed feelings about. I'm really sad, but I'm also feel very accomplished. But yeah, the other background is, my language is a California Indian language. So I'm not going to get into specifics of our history and stuff like that because that would just take up so much time. But those are the basic things that I think you need to know for this video. Video is going to be my discussion about my favorite tools for studying. And my first tip and thing that helps me that I try to incorporate in my life is making flashcards. And I personally use digital flashcards, but I'm not against handwritten flashcards. I think that those are great. I used to use those growing up for learning French, and I do think that they have a real value to them. But lately, I've been really into digital flashcards. So I'd love to spend some time talking about the different digital tools that I use for flashcard making. Well, the first tool that I use is called Quizlet, and Quizlet, I believe, was founded on the basis of trying to be a language learning tool. However, it can be used for so many different things. And there's some pros and cons to Quizlet, but I'm going to talk about the benefits of Quizlet. So one of the benefits to Quizlet is that you can actually use it. It's an app, so you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your tablet, and you can use it on your laptop. And I get the most success out of it using it on my laptop. However, I have used Quizlet on my phone before, and it's really great for on the go. Not right now that I'm outside a lot, but when I'm usually in school and I'm, trekking from place to place and I need to just get a quick study time in before my quiz or my test, or, just feeling really inspired to study my language, then I can pull out my phone and I can easily work my flashcards on there. One of the other cool things about Quizlet is that it doesn't have an audio recording portion, so you can record the pronunciation for the word or the flashcard that you made, and then you can hear it back. I'm not sure if you can upload other audio. I bet that you probably could, but I don't really know how to do that. I'd have to look into it. But I have recorded myself doing pronunciation so that I'm practicing pronouncing the words properly. Like, the one reason why I continue to use Quizlet is because it has this test feature where you create all your flashcards and then it can produce a test for you. And it can do like matching, fill in the blank, it can do matching, fill in the blank, true or false, and just some other, like, you can edit the test to your liking, and you can also like switch it up. And then my other favorite thing is the learning feature, which is like a feature where you're actively practicing memorizing the flashcards, and that's been really, really helpful for me. Oh, the other thing about Quizlet is that you can also add pictures and graphics. So like, if it really helps you, if you're a visual learner, you can upload like stock images or just create your own images, which would be really cool to study and associate the visual with the word that you're learning. Of Quizlet and why I continue to use it and think that it's helpful for me. However, one of the cons that I will mention is that I did find out that they have some weird terms of use where, like, if you upload content and stuff, they, like, Quizlet can own it somehow, and that kind of makes me uncomfortable, especially when it's an Indigenous language, and, learning your language can be more of a private or like community thing. So that's something to keep in mind with Quizlet. But for me, I don't share it with really anybody other than a family member or somebody else who's in the class, or, it's like not really available to the public or anything. So that's just something to keep in mind in Quizlet if that's important to you. And you can research more about that because I'm not super, super clear on the terms of use. Another really great tool that I recently just learned and started using is Anki. And one of the major benefits of Anki is actually that they don't own any of your content. So I think that's one huge plus as opposed to Quizlet. They don't have any features on there where they take control of your content or anything like that if it comes down to it. So that is a major, major plus to me for Anki. But the biggest plus for Anki is that it has what's called spaced repetition. And I will link a video down in the description explaining what spaced repetition is. I'll try my best. It's basically, research has found that when you space out your memorization and studying, that it's more successful in the long term for recalling and memorizing that information, which is not something that like Quizlet or other flashcards use. You would have to kind of create the calendar yourself, but the benefit of Anki is that they have an algorithm that creates the calendar for you to remind you and keep you on track for memorization. So that's one major benefit. Anki also does have an audio feature. However, I have not been able to figure it out. My friend is going to help me eventually when I get around to it. But it does have an audio feature and it does have a graphic feature. So also has the same things that Quizlet has. It does not have a testing feature though. And I would say that Anki is very much more like traditional flashcards, where it's like you look at it and you flip it, you look at it and flip it. And then what's cool is that you can rate like good to bad to easy on your recall and how if you were able to answer the flashcard correctly. But for me, I found that this method can be sometimes difficult, especially if I'm memorizing something that's kind of harder to memorize. However, with Quizlet, I found that when I did the test feature and the learning feature on Quizlet, I was much more successful. So I still really like Anki and I still want to use it, especially for the calendar aspects. However, I'm just sticking with a mix of both of these tools for language learning. All right, so I'm sorry if you can hear my parents talking right now because my walls are kind of thin in the house, so you can hear things through them. So I apologize in advance. But the next thing that I'm going to talk about is how I go about speaking my language in Serrano at home and the things that I do to try to incorporate it in my everyday use in the household. So one of the things that I like to do, and I wish I'm going to try to make a concerted effort to do it more, is trying to train my dog in Serrano commands. And I've put a list together of all the commands that I can teach my dog. But I need to be much more proactive about this and ensuring that she is actually associating the words that I'm using with the commands. So I've done it before and I've made a video for my final project for my class, but that's one idea on how you can get to speaking more of your language is training your animals or your dog in your native language. And it's really fun exercise as well to come up with the commands and think of all the different things that your animal knows and then translating it into your language. Another thing that is new that I've been meaning to do for such a long time is labeling things around my bedroom or my space in the language so that when I see it, I can say the word and it reinforces what I'm learning. So, for example, I have books in my room, I have a bed, I have like writing utensils, I have games, I have, what's some other stuff? I have my phone. Like, I just want to come up with a list of things to label around my bedroom so that I'm, again, reinforcing. Oh, I also have paper in here. I'm just trying to think. There's a lot of school items. There's a window, there's the door, there's the bathroom. I can even put up a sign for like washing my hands, which is super important right now. So yeah, I just have a ton of ideas on how I can label, and then I want to incorporate this into helping me actively recall the words. The next big thing that I'm going to talk about is how you can use technology and resources from your community and your tribe to speak your language and speak it more often. So one of the things that is really, really awesome, and I know is the case for some other tribes, but of course not all, unfortunately, is that we've created keyboards on our phones and our computers so that we can write out the language on our phones, on our tablets, on our computers. So I have a Serrano keyboard on my laptop, and I also have a Serrano keyboard on my phone. So I really like to use Instagram to speak some of my language, to write it out on my stories. If you follow me on my Instagram, so you can click the link in the description, I have a whole story section dedicated to speaking Serrano. And I feel like this is a really fun way for me to practice. I'm sharing with my family and my friends how my language use is going. I'm recalling it in my everyday use. I'm practicing the grammar. I usually like to do it to describe things that my dog is doing, or like things that I'm happy about, or special events. Like I really like to use it on holidays and stuff like that. So your keyboards that you use can be a really, really helpful tool for speaking your language, writing it out. I'm very passionate about using the writing system and having a writing system and stuff like that. That's just my personal opinion, because then the language could be used more in writing, and you're able to do a lot of things if you have a writing system and are able to write your language. Again, I know that that's not the case and not the same opinion for other people, But for me personally, I see how using the writing system is incorporating it in my everyday, and I'm even able to share it on with my friends and family and speak it more often in my text messages and stuff like that. Another thing that's really helpful for the use of technology is that I text my teachers and I text my cousins, Nupuyum, my family relations. I text them in the language, practicing the language. So it feels like a good challenge. I try to challenge myself every week to write out a text or whatever to some of my friends and family in Serrano so that we are practicing the language, and then they're saying something back to me in Serrano, and then I have to figure out what they're saying and give a response. Good use of resources is reading stories in your language. If there are any stories written, then I really encourage you and myself to take some time in your language learning process to sit down and read stories. This way you're able to practice the language. It's really fun because then once you start progressing, you can see that you actually have more language abilities than you think. So what I love in my classes when we do read stories, or when I do take the time to sit and read a story from my elder in our language, is it's so awesome because I notice so many words and I'm like, wow, my language use has come so far from where it used to be. So this is a really good way to keep up your progress. You can do if you have the ability is to listen to stories as well in your language, and this is great because then you're immersing yourself in the Serrano language or whatever your indigenous language is, and you can hear the pronunciations, you can think about what they're saying. This is much more of an immersive tool. So listening as well. And if you don't have them in your language, one thing that I'm trying to do as well that I'm encouraged to do in my class is to record myself speaking the stories and recording a story. So then you can play it back to yourself, even though it's agonizing, I know, to sometimes listen to your own voice. But hearing yourself actually say the words out loud, again, is really, really helpful. The last thing that I'm going to talk about, and this is specific to an indigenous language, if you have the ability and the capacity to, I would very much encourage you, and something that I try to do and is incorporated into my class, is spending time with your elders and hearing them speak the language and tell stories. Even the stories, even if they don't have the language in them, these are so, so, so important for a multitude of reasons that I'm sure that you can think of and imagine. And they're part of the language too. Like, our language went and goes and continues to go throughout history. So listening to your elders, spending conscious, present time with them is really, really helpful in connecting with your culture and at the same time learning and speaking your language. So I usually once a week, as part of the class that I'm in, I spend time with my elder. And then even when I'm outside of the class, like even before I took all of the classes, I would spend time to go visit him and sit with him and listening to his stories, because it's just so, so, so important for the language learning and for a multitude of reasons for, learning and connecting to my culture. So that's one of the things that I'm going to keep up once I'm out of this class. In the summertime, I'm going to make sure that I spend time with my elder. Right now we're doing it on video chat, which is really cool that we have the capacity to be able to do that. And it allows me to still get that time in, even though we're in quarantine right now and it's like really dangerous for us to be around elderly folks. So I'm still going to continue doing that over the summer if we have the ability to. So then I'm practicing learning my language and speaking with my elder in the language. Another suggestion that I have, if you are doing this with permission, I guess is like really important, is to maybe take notes about what your elders are saying, so that you still have them for yourself. But of course, you don't have to do that. Another thing that I do, because it depends on the elder that you're with, I just try to sit very presently and consciously in the moment. And it's kind of hard right now because it is online, so the distractions are a lot more easier. But I do try to make an effort when I am sitting with my elder to not have my phone, not be on social media, not do any of that stuff, and just be in the moment, be present, it's a very meditative experience, and just immerse myself in his stories and the things that he's telling me so that I'm actively listening and engaging with him. And that's what I would recommend, my advice for if you are on the journey of sitting and spending time with your elders as well. Anyways, that concludes my video. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I am for sure, without a doubt, eventually going to update this video and come out with more versions of this video as I learn more and read more and have, you know, gained some life experience in speaking and learning my language. So, of course, it's not perfect. I'm not saying that I'm like fully proficient and fluent by now. That's going to take a lot of effort, but I'm trying to make active baby steps in getting to the point where my language proficiency is much better. So these are some of the things that I have felt that have progressed me, so I'm sharing them with you. So if you have anything in the comments that you want to ask me a question about the tools that I use, the resources, anything that you want to know that I am comfortable with answering, then I will definitely do so. So make sure to leave a comment. Also, if you want to, you can follow me on social media, where I share some of my Indigenous language revitalization efforts and experiences and pictures and all the like. So you can follow me on Twitter, that's linked down below. My Instagram as well is linked down below. And that's pretty much it. So without further ado, Hakupa'i, Napuyu. I'm going to call you my cousins because I'm sure that there's some other Indigenous folks watching this video, and I see so many Indigenous folks as Napuyu, as my relations, my cousins. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate it, and please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up because it helps us content creators. And if you have suggestions for other videos you'd like to see about Indigenous languages or just in general on my channel, make sure to hit the comments to let me know, and also you can share with me on DMs. By the way, thank you so much to so many people who've been reaching out to me over direct messages. It warms my heart every time I hear somebody say that they enjoy my videos or that it affected them in some way. That's why I do this. So just don't hesitate to reach out to me over Instagram if you want to chat, because I'm very available to talking. So again, Hakupa'i, thank you so much for watching this video. Pahikotan hiv. I will see you later in the next video.